everybody, and welcome back to Raising Vibrations Astrology. And today we're going to be looking at the full moon in Aquarius, and in particular, how this is actually affecting us in terms of a global experience and how consciousness is evolving itself. So just to kind of give you a roadmap of exactly how this video is going to go down. So for any of you that are watching this video just purely for the astrological information, I'll be giving that to you first. And then afterwards, I feel like I would like to share a little bit about my own personal experience of how this has, transgressed for me, how these these planetary alignments have affected the way that my own personal direction in life has changed. And so yeah, just sharing that as well. So full moon in Aquarius, where do I start? I feel like the best place to begin with this information and how I would like to transmit this message with you today is that when we're dealing with an energy pattern that is Aquarius, okay, what we are looking at here is the vibration, the frequency of energy that has a shift in its intention. Its evolution is about shifting, okay? It's about shifting you onto a different timeline. It is about offering a perspective or seeing something from a different point of view that brings to yourself the relationship of something that has changed. Okay, so the underlying reality of Aquarius as an archetypal structure is to allow ourselves to be liberated from crystallized patterns of behavior. So when I say crystallized, I mean when we are doing something in our day, okay, there's the specific pattern that we generally follow. And this pattern is usually crystallized imprints within ourselves that gives us a sense of navigation, and that emotion makes us emotionally feel stable within ourselves, okay? And you can see this by the patterns that you have within your life. And the astrological chart itself provides you with this kind of context of what type of patterns you'll generally be experiencing as the moon contacts all the planets in your natal chart, as Chiron hits them, etc. So what happens when we deal with a energy pattern like Aquarius, for instance, in this case, a new moon in Aquarius or full moon in Aquarius or Venus in Aquarius, Mars in Aquarius, we're dealing with a relationship that the energy pattern will come into our field and say, there's another way of interfacing with life force. There is another way of interfacing with reality. Okay. And that can be available to you right now if you jump onto this perspective and allow yourself to see it from that point of view. And I feel like it's really, really cool to be able to understand Uranus in that way, or Aquarius in that way particularly, because there's a lot of information out there on the internet that describes the nature of Aquarius as being the water bearer, so it's water being pendant, it's higher consciousness, etc., etc., etc. But to really grasp what I feel is available for us in terms of the energy pattern of this full moon in Aquarius is to really see how Aquarius allows for a shift in perspective to manifest, and then a sense of liberation and an emotional interaction in that new perspective. And what does that bring for us? What insight or awareness does that bring for us? Okay. And again, Uranus or Aquarius as an energy exists outside the time frame of the mental mind. So what we are dealing with here is, from a time perspective, everything has to have a sequential experience through our mental perceptions, our monkey brain. And then when Uranus comes along, it kind of changes that dimension of how we're relating to ourselves, giving us the appearance that we've actually shifted perspective. And we have, it's just that the brain is now adjusting to a reality that is already existing. And now we're on that kind of train experiencing that reality. So what I personally have seen around me and how I've directly experienced this energy pattern of the full moon is it's connecting with the Uranus and Aries. Okay, so Uranus has been in Aries. We know this, right? We know that Pluto is in Capricorn. So we've got these two big heavy hitters there. We've got Neptune in Pisces. So that's the transpersonal planets. And that's what evolves the generation. That's what evolves the collective. Okay. So Neptune's representing a loss of way of being and a new way of being through inspiration. So it's like, we can't be this anymore. We've got to be like that. Uranus is saying, okay, well, let's break down the form that we were existing in so that we can create a new form for this inspiration and consciousness to evolve itself through. So that's the framework of what we're dealing with here. So wherever it is in your astrology chart, these three symbols, look at what I've just described and notice how the framework of your consciousness is being evolved. Okay, or should I say how the framework of your consciousness is being evolved. Okay, the house and sign of Pluto, the house and sign of Neptune, the house and sign of Uranus. And that will tie in specifically to the intention of the soul's karmic story in terms of where we are right now, right? So for me, I have Pluto in the 12th house, I have Neptune in the 2nd, Mercury in the 3rd, Uranus in the 3rd. And I've got this interesting dynamic where I'm actually dissolving the nature of how I perceived myself in the past. And I am basically accelerating the natural language that I use to connect with people. And that is then healing Neptune, the nature of my inner relationship to myself. Okay. And that's what's currently going on for me in terms of this huge karmic, experience. Now, the full moon that's taking place is with the moon in Aquarius at 25 degrees. We've got the sun obviously in Leo at 25 degrees. We've got Mars conjunct Saturn in Sagittarius, okay? And this whole entire connection over here is that, so what we've got is we've got Mars conjunct Saturn. We all know that Mars has been in Scorpio for an X period of time. We all know that we've been dealing with unearthing the deepest aspects of our psyche and bringing it to the surface for it to be purified, okay? The purification process has got to do with Jupiter and Virgo, right? Like really, really getting in touch with what is essential for us and what isn't, okay? So as Saturn goes direct, as Mars hits Saturn on this full moon, it makes this incredible connection in Sagittarius where we begin to realize within inside of ourselves that there's a new way of relating to ourselves, a new structure that is being formed. And that structure is now being evolved through what is your philosophy? What is it that you believe? And it's got a lot to do with the natural sort of relationship to I think that's what it is. What's your orientation now? Okay. And up until maybe, I would say 4 years ago, many souls that were doing astrology, that were doing tarot reading, etc., didn't have the capacity for their belief systems to be accepted by society as much as it is right now. And so there's this whole entire collection of souls that have got very different belief systems from the norm that are coming into reality and saying, hey, I can be validated, I can be existing. And this is a huge liberation. For me, for instance, doing raising vibrations and talking about the natural way that I resonate with inside of myself started in 2014. But I know that if I'd done this earlier, say for instance in 2006 or even earlier, I would have probably not have had the amount of response that I have right now. And maybe part of it's due to the internet and all that type of stuff, but you get what I mean. There's more of an acceptance of this philosophy and this philosophical way of being. So a lot of souls are, and probably many of you that are resonating with this video at this point in time are going, okay, yeah. So I am having my belief systems accepted. It feels a little bit isolating still because everybody else seems to be a little bit crazy, but I know where I am. And it's like, it's that liberation, and that Mars conjunct Saturn is saying, okay, now it's time to go. Go follow that philosophy, go follow that belief system, go experience what it's like in that sense, and allow yourself to be liberated through but connecting with your inner being. And that's all what it really is about. It's like knowing yourself, right? That's all what it is. It's all about just observing this reality, observing your life, taking notes, understanding what the greater cosmic experience is like in terms of soul consciousness, and then just basically sharing it. And from my point of view, that's all I think we can actually do in that sense. So Mars conjunct Saturn in Sag is really, really giving us this capacity to break away from belief systems of deep suppression and emotional separation. And it's time to now bring your philosophies back into yourself and live from that place. We've also got the moon, pardon me, not the moon, but we've got Virgo there, and we've got the north node in Virgo. We have the Venus conjunct that north node, and we have Jupiter in Virgo, and we have Mercury in Virgo. Now I'm putting up my hand and saying, please end, because I'm done with this stuff. I'm done with this stuff. I really, really am. For me personally, karmically speaking, this is a huge thing. In terms of Mercury moving through Virgo, maybe that's what I'm speaking about the most, because it's such a mental energy. It's like, it doesn't have to be that way, but it is in that sense, or at least for me it is. So with Venus conjunct the north node, Jupiter conjunct the north in proximity of the north node, and has been conjuncting that north node in Virgo, we're dealing with two things here. We're dealing with the culmination of Jupiter in Virgo, which is again all about your philosophies and belief systems around what has been impure for you, what has not resonated with you, what has resonated with you. I've watched it in the world, how people have just like connected with all different types of belief systems and then slowly cut out what is not essential and then kind of said, okay, this is what I resonate with. And then that's where we are. We're like, okay, now I know what I believe in. Now I know what I feel I connect with, and I'm going to follow that path. And that's going to reflect my individuality. And that's where the sun and moon in this experience comes from, right? The axis between Aquarius and Leo is, how do I validate my individuality? Well, it begins with self-validation. When I validate myself, then my individuality becomes present, because I see it in terms of the groups that I belong to and the associates that I assign myself to, right? But you can only know that truly if you know what your philosophy is, and you've needed to figure that out. So here we are going, okay, well, what do you believe in? And now that you've got this kind of orientation, you can begin to find a sense of connection in terms of what this is about. And maybe that feeling of like being in this void can disappear, or at least at ease with itself, because the emotional connection to feeling lost at sea should start to subside a little bit, especially when it comes to honoring and validating yourself. Okay. So the Jupiter is culminating. It's going to be ending, I think, in September, around about the 2nd or 3rd. Jupiter will leave and enter Libra, and that's going to be a whole different story for us. That's a masculine energy again. So we're expressing ourselves. Okay. So culmination, my advice to you during this period of time, from my perspective at least, is, or what I see, is to just chill out a little bit, just stay a little bit still with yourself and really, really start to integrate again and realize what this philosophy is, and just kind of live by that place. Just live by this new philosophy that you've got and test it out and experiment with it, and give yourself enough time to not feel overwhelmed when your mind kicks in and says, it's not working the way that it should, right? Because a big part of the process with Venus on the North Node is opening up to the realization that your relationship to yourself is now being purified, and that you are getting an opportunity to really connect deeply within yourself. So this is a big shift for us, and it's allowing us to connect with us in a deep way. So what we have here in terms of the summary of what I'm watching in terms of these energy patterns is this capacity to know that Uranus, Pluto, and Neptune are reshaping you on a big karmic level. It's the whole entire world that is experiencing this collective shift. And then Mars and Venus, Saturn, Jupiter is, how is it specifically working for you in terms of how you relate to yourself? How do you relate to this change? And each of us obviously has that individuality to it. And this is what I wanted to end off with this video today, was the relationship of individuality that we have. That there is so much in our world that has been kind of like clumped up into one specific area and said, this is who you are and this is how you must behave. And I feel that that's not right. I feel like when we operate from a mental place, when we operate from a definition, then what we're doing is we're just regurgitating and allowing ourselves to follow paradigms of thinking that is not what our soul's trajectory is really about. And I feel like we are moving into a phase within our existence where the potential for our uniqueness and individuality and our specific path is available for us. And some of you watching this video are on that path, and some of you are trying to get in touch with that vibration, and some of you might not know what I mean exactly. But this is what is available for us right now. And if you spend some time focusing on that element of where consciousness is evolving, you'll start to see that there is actually quite a deep resonance around what makes you unique, what makes you different, what does actually reflect back to you that even though the world says to you, this is the 5 steps and 5 ways that you can be successful, and you sit outside that bracket and you go, why does that have to dictate what is successful to me? And really, 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 really getting in touch with self-validation and allowing yourself to be completely and utterly outside the bracket of what society has conditioned you to think what success is or what is the right and wrong thing. And, apart from obviously following natural law and not going outside and just killing somebody and saying, okay, Simon told me that I should just be unique and I just felt angry with the guy, so I killed him. No, I don't mean it like that. This is that I need to have the disclaimer. But what I'm referring to in this particular, segment right now, this frequency that I'm trying to vibrate out to you guys, is that it's about time that we start to just allow ourselves to relax. And I know for one person that really needs to do that is me in that sense. And I have been practicing it. And that's why I'm sharing it with you from a personal space, is that the more I've found myself being relaxed in situations, the less I've felt stressed to do things that my mind tells me I should be doing. And it's hilarious to watch this conditioning explained to me. And quite frankly, I've actually found myself over the last week like incredibly overwhelmed. That's why there hasn't been any videos out, because I've just been like completely disassociated, where I've been like, I haven't had any energy to do anything, because I've had to deal with so much of this nonsense that controls me, and realize that it's like, why do I go through these periods of time where this actually takes place? And I've come to the realization that there's this deep attachment around needing to have it right. And by losing my mind through coming to this understanding and saying I don't need that anymore, I've realized that my individuality has a very different path to how my mind has told me it needs to be. So fascinating things there in that sense. And as I'm deconditioning it more, I'm realizing more and more and more that there is a very different way of me expressing myself that is allowing me to actually bring more of my authentic self into these conversations. And into you as the person that's reading it as well, maybe awakening that same inspiration to find that what is natural for you, what is different about you that separates you from what society thinks or what people think is the right thing to do for you, and how do you deal with those judgments of going, you know what, hey, like I'm not really interested in the conditioning mind, because you can spot it a mile away with somebody where there's like advice coming your way. I'm not saying that I've been experiencing that in that way, but you can watch how the mind tricks you into believing that this is how you should behave and this is what the next step is, whereas it's not the truth at all. So if there's anything that you come away from this video today, is acknowledge your individuality, honor the fact that your body has more creative intelligence than your mind does because it hasn't manifested a baby, and ask any woman that has given birth and has carried a baby for 9 months knows that the intelligence of the process of that is far more superior than the brain's capacity to logically and linear just do things. It just doesn't work. It doesn't heal itself. You cut yourself, the body knows what to do, the brain doesn't. So the intelligence of our individuality exists here in this vehicle. And I want you to get in touch with that vehicle like I'm doing and saying, I'm going to operate from its intelligence. And if it says, no, I don't want to do that, then you need to go and say, yeah, I'm not going to do this. I don't feel like doing it right now at this point in time. So, all right, everyone, thank you so much for allowing me to share this information with you today. Obviously, share your comments and thoughts in the comments below, and share with me what your full moon experience was like, and see if we can get a communication going with everybody else in the group, in the chat, right, in the actual chat. Some things that I want to let you know is that if you're wanting to have a reading with me at this point in time, I've actually got a 25% discount on all of the live readings. So that is available on the Facebook page, which I will put a link in the description because the website is still giving me nonsense. And also, if you are wanting to learn astrology for yourself and have a reading with me, I highly encourage you to look at Learn Your Chart, okay? And I will be updating the video and announcing to you how this Learn Your Chart experience for me has completely changed in a big way. And I'm truly excited to actually be sharing with you the final product at this point in time. And yeah, so if that's something that you're interested in, just a quick understanding of what Learn Your Chart is. Basically what I do is I take your birth details and I create a 12-page PDF of your like all the information on your astrology chart, and I draw an astrology chart for you, and I place little planets all inside in this astrological wheel, and whatever planet is, so for instance Pluto, I hyperlink a video that I created on the teaching of Pluto and what it means. So you just basically go around your whole entire astrology chart, clicking on different planets where they are in your actual chart and watching the videos so that you get an understanding of what your chart looks like and how it works for you. So that when you come to a reading with me, you're already prepared, and all you have to do is just basically allow me to share a little bit of the aspects and phases, but you ask me questions. So it's the other way around now, where I don't come here and just go, oh, this is what this is about. You actually teach yourself, and I'm just here as somebody that is schooled in astrology to be able to give you those answers. So I think it's fantastic in that sense. So yeah. All right, guys, again, take care, and I'll speak to you soon.